Welcome back to my channel. I'm James. Today we're going to be reviewing and deep diving into Midnight Run on 4K Ultra HD and Wanted on 4K Ultra HD. Both of these are brand new 4K Ultra HD releases from Shout and Scream Factory, and there's something that I was curious how these were going to hold up in comparison to their previous Blu-ray releases. So today I'm going to dive into both of these and give you all of my exclusive testing data and all the exclusive image comparisons comparing these to their original Blu-ray releases. And that's something I always exclusively do here on this YouTube channel, pulling all of the native images off of these 4K discs and all of the native images off of the Blu-ray discs and comparing them side by side for all of you. That way all of you can see the differences and determine if these are something worth upgrading or buying if you don't own them already. And then at the end, as always, I wrap it up with my review score that lets you know the overall quality of each of these 4K sets to let you know if these are worth buying. Now to start off with here, I'm going to show you the original Blu-ray release from Shout Factory up here above. As I mentioned before, these are always the native images pulled directly from these discs without all of the artificial things your TV can do to alter the image. And that's always what makes the biggest difference in what we see when we're watching these. Now, the original Blu-ray release from Shout Factory was a decent release. I enjoyed it. Now, it's not something that was ever reference quality. It didn't look just absolutely mind-boggling amazing. It was just a decent release of a film from 1988 that I've always enjoyed. And the film's kind of a buddy, adventure, road trip type of movie comedy. And it's a very enjoyable film with Charles Grodin and obviously Robert De Niro in it. And it's always been one of those that kind of played on Saturday afternoons on TV back in the days. And it was one of those that a lot of people have seen. But it is one of those films that's always had issues with the audio. And it's one of those things I'm going to touch on as I go through this. But to show you in comparison to the 4K Ultra HD release. Now for this release, we do get a native 4K 2160p representation on this. And it was scanned from the original film elements to create this 4K. Now, there is some things that I will say were nice improvements on it, and there were some things that were slight disappointments that I'm going to touch on here. But image quality wise, as you can notice from that title sequence above, towards the beginning of the film, it does look drastically better on the 4K in that sense. It does have more inky blacks without going into necessarily black crush area versus the Blu-ray release did. It does have a better color tone and color grading, as you can notice in the Midnight Run title. It's more vibrant and just looks more alive as an image overall versus the previous Blu-ray. Now, if you haven't done so yet, make sure to give this video a like and a thumbs up for me. Hit that subscribe button and the bell notification. Just like with this review, I exclusively pull all the data off of the disc and do all this exclusive testing that you're only ever going to find here on my YouTube channel. So you never want to miss out on any of this content. So make sure to go down there, give this video a like and a thumbs up for me, hit that subscribe button and the bell notification. Now this new 4K is greatly enhanced by the Dolby Vision and HDR10 that's on it. I did really like how that actually had more pop in it as you're noticing those images above. It does really enhance those lights to darks and depth to the image. That's a noticeable improvement over the previous Blu-ray release. But I'm going to touch on one of the things that's kind of just inherent to the film itself. It's not a gorgeous film. There's very heavy film grain throughout it that has fluctuations throughout it. Now there was always fluctuations on the previous Blu-ray release. On this though, there was some digital noise that caused some slight, you could see some slight clumping in a few scenes, especially some darker scenes, where you did notice that film grain fluctuations a bit more. There was some slight vibrations in the film grain, you'll notice, of it just vibrating on there, and just instabilities overall. I'm not gonna say it's horrible or the worst thing I've seen ever, and you'll understand more when I get to my review score, how this compares to all the hundreds of other 4Ks I've tested and reviewed, but it did have those instabilities throughout it, so it's not a perfect transfer, and it's not an absolutely perfect 4K release. Now, touching on the audio that I was referencing, this does come with a DTS HD Master Audio 5.1 and 2.0 mix. Now the 5.1 on this release I did enjoy. I will say it sounded slightly better than the Blu-ray, but only slightly. Here's why. This still has the inherent issues with basically the actual audio mix that's on this needing kind of a whole new restoration for numerous reasons. And it needed it on that Blu-ray before, And a lot of those problems and issues I encountered on the previous releases are still present on this. For example, it'll have really loud music. So it'll have like the music's really loud for the soundtrack on it. All of a sudden then it'll go to the next scene where the character's talking. You can barely hear it. It's especially noticeable. There's some scenes towards the beginning of the film where Robert De Niro is talking to some of the other characters, and he sits down for lunch with one of the characters at the beginning, and it goes from a loud music to all of a sudden them talking. You can't hear it. You got to turn it up. Then all of a sudden the music comes on and it's blaringly loud. You got to turn it down and up and down. And there's numerous scenes throughout this film that are that way, where the dialogue and voices are hard to hear. They're just very low, and I don't know if I want to call it muffled so much, but they are just a lower volume, drastically lower than the soundtrack is that's on this. So it is one of those things that the audio to me is just not a very enjoyable audio mix. That's one of those I sit down and say, man, that was amazing. It moved the sound around the room. I could hear everything clearly and crisply and easily. It's just not. It's one of those audio mixes that I've always felt, just like it was on the Blu-ray, is just kind of a poor audio mix. It could use more stability between it, keeping the levels more stable where the soundtrack doesn't get blaringly loud and then the voices are really quiet and then blaringly loud, because I really don't like turning it up, turning it down, turning it up, turning it down. It's kind of one of those things that just slightly irritates me. So that is one thing that's still inherent on this. I did enjoy the image. I thought the image was better looking. I did enjoy the HDR10 and the Dolby Vision. Between those two, I really couldn't see much of a variance between the two on this. So whether you watch it on HDR10 or Dolby Vision, you're gonna get almost the same experience between both of those. I didn't see any big differences between those. Now, if after you get done watching this review and hearing my review score, you decide you want to buy any of these 4K releases or the previous Blu-ray releases, I'll link all of them down in the description section and as a pinned comment in the comment section below. That way, if you decide to buy any of these, you click on those Amazon links, it takes you straight out there. It's on sale for the same prices everywhere through those links down below. And it never costs you even a penny extra when you click on those links down there below. So make sure, if you're gonna buy any of these releases, to click on those links I've posted down there below. Now, for this release, you do also get English subtitles. Showing you what you get in this, it does not come with a slipcover. For these collector's edition releases, I really wish they would have kept releasing them in slipcovers. My understanding is I've recently seen that the cost of cardboard has gone up. Kind of ridiculous. I guess I didn't realize the cost of cardboard has gone up. But my understanding from some of the studios is they're starting to limit the slipcovers they make and things like that that are made out of cardboard because the cost of it has gone up, so they're trying not to raise the prices. But I also don't know that that's not just kind of an excuse, to be honest, to save a couple extra pennies. I don't know. I guess I'll take their explanation as for the reason why there's less slipcovers being made. But I'm just telling you all honestly, I don't know if that's not just an excuse. But anyhow, that's the thing that I'm hearing. So it does say collector's edition on it. Same cover artwork that was on the previous Blu-ray. On the side, it has the same number 3 as the previous Blu-ray. And then on the back here, it talks about it. It did obviously say that it gets a new 2022 4K scan of the original camera negative, as I was referencing. So that's where this is drastically different than what the previous Blu-ray had, because this is a brand new 4K scan of that original camera negative, which is why this is a native 4K 2160p. Special features wise, you get the exact same special features that were contained on the previous Shout Factory Blu-ray, so those are all contained in this as well. Now, when you get inside here, you do get your Blu-ray disc, which I did test and it is region A locked. You get your 4K disc, that is 100% region free. So if you are wanting to import this or buy this to any country around the world, that link I posted down there directly from Amazon ships anywhere worldwide. That's the Amazon USA link down there below, but it does ship worldwide. Just keep in mind, you will need a multi-region or region-free player if you live outside of USA, Canada, Mexico, because USA, Canada, Mexico is obviously region A. The Blu-ray is region A locked, your 4K is region free. And I will say for the 4K disc, it is on a BD100, so that's good news for that sense of it. Now, Midnight Run's one of those films with Charles Grodin, who is popular from basically the Beethoven movies. I've always really enjoyed him as an actor, though he did pass away a little while ago, and I did enjoy all his films. He has a very dry sense of humor that if you like him, you'll love him in this film. He plays that same similar character that you kind of just fall in love with. I don't know, he's just kind of dry and witty and just, I don't know. He's one of those characters that from my era of growing up, he was an enjoyable character actor. And in this, it's really kind of it's not a buddy cop movie, but it's about a criminal, obviously, that's getting arrested by a bounty hunter that then basically he's trying to bring Charles Grodin's character back to the city where he needs to turn him in to get his bounty. And it's all the mishaps that happen along the way, and how there's the mafia after him, and then there's the FBI after him, and then there's the police after him, and then there's multiple double crosses and things that happen along the way, all done in a very light comedic style. And like I said, for a film from 1988, it's a very enjoyable and fun comedy that you just sit back, and they just don't make films like they used to like this, that are just fun to sit back and watch. Now, it is rated R and it does have violence and language in it, but to be honest with you, it's pretty light. I mean, there's not tons and tons of bloody, gory violence. It's mostly just shooting where nobody really gets shot much at all. And it's mostly that type of thing. And I kind of think nowadays, if it didn't have as much of the language in it, it would have mostly been rated like PG-13. Now, getting to the rough average bit right here. As always, I try to dive into and do some more of this exclusive testing and share this with all of you. Well, for this one, it had an amazingly strong and very healthy 93 megabits per second. It did have some dips where it went pretty low, but then it went really high, so that rough average bit rate is a combination of those things. It did surprise me though that it was that high overall, because like I said with the image, those instabilities, it has a BD100 on it, so it had plenty of room for the content to breathe, which is noticeable by the rough average bitrate. So they didn't overcompress it down. It just has some of those digital instabilities from the scan they did. And I said, I wish they would have done a little bit more work on basically making sure that there wasn't as much digital noise that was present, or any of those film grain fluctuations, that it really has some noticeable film grain fluctuations and instabilities in it that could have been worked out a little more. But I understand there's limitations to the budget, because this is not one of those massively worldwide known films that everybody is searching for. So they only put so much time or work into these. Now, getting to my review score for Midnight Run on 4K Ultra HD. I enjoy the film, and I think it's an enjoyable 1980s film that if you like 1980s kind of buddy action adventure comedies, you're going to enjoy this. So my review score for Midnight Run on 4K Ultra HD is a very good 8.8. It's a good release on 4K. If you own the previous Blu-ray release, it is an upgrade. As you've noticed in those image comparisons above showing you those native images, it is an upgrade. It's just not one that's gonna blow you away or knock your socks off. It's just a slight upgrade. Now there is things where there's scenes where I say, man, it's a wow upgrade, but because I'm taking the whole film as itself, I have to look at the overall quality for the total release of this film on 4K. And because of that, that's where it gets an 8.8. That tells you how it compares. If you've watched hundreds of my other 4K reviews, you know where this falls image quality wise. And it's enjoyable. It's a good release. It's just not an amazing release that's gonna blow you away. It's just very good. I just wish they would have fixed those things with like the audio and, like I said, those instabilities, and it would have gotten a much better review score. Now, if you decide you're gonna buy this or add this to your collection, make sure to use those Amazon links I've posted in the description section and as a pinned comment in the comment section below. Those never cost you even a penny extra, and those do help to support this YouTube channel just a tiny bit. When you click on those links though, they're on sale for the same prices everywhere, and like I said, it doesn't cost you anything extra. Now to start off with for Wanted here, I'm gonna show you the Blu-ray release from the 2008 Blu-ray that I've owned for many, many years. Now I bought this originally when it first came out, and this has been the release that's available worldwide on Blu-ray from Universal since 2008. And it always had one of those that was more of a stylized type of filmmaking. There's different filters and different colors they use to give it certain effects and feelings for numerous scenes throughout this film. Now, on the Blu-ray release, it had some issues with the encode. It was never an amazing, just reference quality Blu-ray, but it was good and decent for the time period, and it's one that I've always enjoyed the film. It's a very like action heavy, unrealistic, but very action heavy, kind of like, I'd almost call it superhero, hitmen, if you want to call it that. It's very, very a stylized film that I enjoy. And I always thought it was a very slick kind of action adventure thriller. Well, this is one of those I've always loved watching. So I was excited when this got announced by Shout Factory as a new 4K release. But it is one of those that has an interesting history for how it was filmed. Now, in comparison to Shout Factory's new 4K release, as you can notice, there is some healthy improvements right away that you'll notice in those image comparisons above. But I need to touch on how this was filmed and finished so you understand what type of a transfer this is in the first place. So Wanted was finished as a 2K DI. Then it was put onto film, and then Universal and Shout Factory did a new 4K scan to create a new 4K master for this 4K release. So technically, this is an upscaled 4K to a 4K master without trying to make it too complicated. So it does have film grain in it, but it's very light. Because you have to remember, once it was finished at 2K and then put onto film, that's then what they're scanning, which then, again, like I said, it has that film grain that's present in it, but it's extremely light. So it's just kind of more of a complicated explanation for how this 4K came about. And Shout Factory was very light on detailing how this came about, because a lot of the times when people hear upscaled 4K, they think, man, it's not going to be worth it, it's not going to be detailed, it's going to be lacking depth and detail and so on and so forth. Well, I can set your fears aside on that. This is one of those upscaled 4Ks, which is basically a new 4K master on this 4K release that does look pretty darn decent, and I've reviewed a lot of them over the years. If you haven't previously checked out some of those, I did the original Underworld movies, which I did really enjoy, and I like that box set. If you want to check out that review when you get done with this one, you're welcome to do that. It's available now on this YouTube channel, and that was a few years back. And sometimes when they do these 2K upscales, they turn out okay. They're just not amazing reference quality releases. And I explain a lot about that in that review. But this is one of those that did surprise me. Because with this, it does have very nice color grading on it that drastically made it look better than that 2008 Blu-ray. It has way more depth and detail than I thought was going to be present on it at all. And it's greatly helped by the Dolby Vision and HDR10 on this. And I will say the Dolby Vision on this one was the winner. It was about 5 to 8% better looking than the HDR10. Now, the HDR10 wasn't a slouch, it still looked very good. It's just the Dolby Vision had a 1-up on the HDR10. The colors just looked better on that Dolby Vision than it did on the HDR10. So in that sense, the Dolby Vision was the slight winner in that sense, but both were very enjoyable, and both of them looked drastically better than the previous Blu-ray, which really surprised me, which, like I said, because sometimes upscales aren't as amazing as we hope they're going to be. Now, for the audio on this, we do get an English DTS HD Master Audio 5.1 and 2.0. The 5.1 is a lossless mix, and I can tell you, in comparison to the 2008 Blu-ray, I sat and listened to them side by side and went back and forth between them. The only differences I really noticed on this was it did have better LFE, it had more range just slightly, I could feel things moving around the room just slightly more than the 2008. So it seems like they just slightly tweaked some things on the audio on this to give it a slight 1-up over the 2008 Blu-ray, but thankfully, at least in this case, the audio was a slight 1-up, which makes it a nice little increase and a nice little upgrade in that sense. Now, as you're noticing in this 4K images above versus the original Blu-ray, man, this Blu-ray really kind of looks like a poor release in comparison, and that's what is always interesting when I do these side-by-side comparisons, because you really start to see those native images, what the true differences are. Now, I'm gonna show you a downside of Wanted here. As always, I'm gonna be honest and upfront with all of you when I go through all this testing with all of you. Well, there's a special effects image I'm gonna show you above. The special effects on this still do look slightly soft, and they're always going to. And that's because of how it was finished and then put onto film, and because of the limitations in 2008 when this was released, and the special effects budgets and things that were done, computers, technology, and everything of that time period when this was filmed before it was released. So you have to keep that in mind. Those special effects, they're always going to look softer. So when it does go to those scenes, just like it did on the Blu-ray, they just have a more waxy appearance, and they just look more waxy, especially like a lot of those bullet effects, where it has those CGI effects with the bullet bending effects. You really notice they just have a more waxy appearance overall, and it loses a lot of that depth in those scenes. That's not something wrong with this 4K release. That's because of the CGI limitations of that time period. Though they look the best they possibly can on this 4K, because they still looked better than that previous Blu-ray, as you're noticing above. It's just, they're not outstanding. Like a lot of the rest of the image that's in this really will surprise you, that depth and detail. There's no black crush in this. There was no digital noise. I didn't have any issues with film grain fluctuations, banding, or blocking. That's why I said this really is one of those 4K releases that just really did surprise me. Now, showing you what you get in this, you do not get a slipcover, as I explained in the last review for Midnight Run. That excuse about basically cardboard cost going up so high, that's my understanding of why they're just limiting how many slipcovers are released anymore. But again, I don't know that I believe it, but anyhow, that's the excuse I'm hearing. So it does have obviously this new artwork they're using on it. It says wanted on the side here. Then on the back it talks about that it's a new 4K master, but again, being very specific, not to say that it's an upscaled, even though it is upscaled technically. But anyhow, so it does say new 4K master. It has special features on here. The special features are mostly contained on your Blu-ray disc. The Blu-ray disc that is in here does contain the new 4K master they did that's on this. It is a brand new Blu-ray in this. They did not take, well obviously because that's Universal's release, but Shout Factory didn't take what Universal had previously released anyways and put it onto this. This is a brand new Blu-ray in this as well as the new 4K disc. Now, when you get inside here, you do get brand new artwork on here. This is your Blu-ray disc and this is your 4K disc. 4K disc is 100% region free. So again, if you want to import this anywhere worldwide, or if you live in the US and you're wanting to buy this, that Amazon link I've posted in the description section and as a pinned comment in the comment section below, ships anywhere worldwide. It never costs you anything extra through that link down below, and it is on sale for the same price. So make sure if you're wanting to buy this, click on that link down below. Now, getting to the rough average bitrate for wanted on 4K Ultra HD. This had an extremely high and shockingly healthy 95 megabits per second. It was one of those that really surprised me how stable it was. It didn't have any of those dips like what I mentioned. It didn't have any of those big dips like what I mentioned with Midnight Run. It was very stable and very healthy throughout the entire runtime. That 95 megabits per second really surprised me. And to be honest with you, this looked the best I have ever seen wanted look. I actually, in a weird way, thought this looked better than when I originally saw it in theaters. Now, here's why. The theater I originally went to see this in back in 2008 was one of those theaters that it was kind of a lower class theater. The seats had tears in it. The screen was kind of overblown where they had the light on the camera up way too high. So it was kind of like blown out and didn't have as much depth or detail in the image. So in my opinion, obviously based on that I didn't watch this on the best screen originally, it really is the best I've ever seen wanted look, and it was a very healthy upgrade over that 2008 Blu-ray that really did just surprise me. Now, getting to my review score for wanted on 4K Ultra HD, this gets a highly recommended 9.2. This is a must-buy that you're gonna wanna add to your collection. If you like action movies, stylized superhero style hitman action movies, with a really entertaining story. I mean, I know a lot of you have heard me reference this film before when I was referring to films I want to see on 4K. I'm glad this one is out because it has some good humor in it too. If most of you remember Chris Pratt before he was Star-Lord, he's in this film, and one of my favorite scenes is the keyboard smacking scene. And if you know what I'm talking about, you'll see it in the image above, but it's when James McAvoy's character smacks Chris Pratt across the face with a keyboard and breaks his teeth, and they use it to like spell out things on the screen, which I can't show you what it's spelling out above. But anyhow, it is really clever how it's done. That's another one of those special effects shots though that does get a more waxy soft appearance because it is 100% special effects CGI that created the tooth and obviously the keyboard things going across the screen. But it is a really cool scene. It's very comedic. I think it's very over the top and well done. And in a weird way, I liked Angelina Jolie's character in it because she was just fit the film really well. And I thought Morgan Freeman was great in it. And it has some twists and turns in it that I think are well done. I've really enjoyed the film over the years. It's not a perfect film, but it is a fun action adventure that you really can't miss out on because if you like action adventure movies, this is one that'll really kick you in the butt and kind of wake you up and say, man, that was a fun film. No, it's not realistic. No, you can't say it's an Academy Award winner, but sometimes you just need a hardcore action movie to sit back, have some good violent action scenes that keep you engaged. This'll do it for you. If you haven't checked out this film, it comes highly recommended to check this out. It is a 9.2. This is a must buy that you're gonna wanna buy and add to your collection. As I said, I use that word surprising a lot when talking about this because that really is what this did. For an upscale and all the things that I explained about what this is sourced from, this one did surprise me how good it looked, and I'm happy with this release. This was worth the money to buy. Now, I'm gonna reference something. A lot of times when you get these Shout Factory, sometimes they will come with smudges or things like that on it. You're gonna wanna make sure you clean your disc properly when you get these. All of these Shout Factory releases come with like that oily substance, which is off-gassing of the cases. And then some of the times it's from the manufacturing plants where these are from, that basically they're just dirty and need cleaned. There'll be fingerprints on them, things like that. Make sure to clean them the proper way. I've explained how to do it in the video. And I will reference that video one other thing. I've gotten a lot of comments from people that just don't understand the purpose of that video. It's based on exactly my years of experience of cleaning all of these discs and never having a scratch or anything ever happen from the way I clean them. The professional cleaning machines is where that original idea I used came from. If you remember on those cleaning machines, they have little discs that spin in little circles around the discs in little circles. That's exactly what I use when I explain how to do it correctly with the claws in that video. It's the exact machines that Sony and Warner Brothers and every major studio use when they use to clean discs. They're little pads that go in little circles around the disc, exactly like I explained. So for those of you naysayers out there who have given a hard time over the years because you're just too stuck in your ways to learn anything new, that's not my fault. I do it the correct way because that's how it's done by the actual machines, and that's what I'm explaining in that video. So make sure to check out that video here on this YouTube channel if you want to learn how to properly clean your discs without damaging them to get all that oily substance off, so that way your disc plays without any skipping errors. Because if you leave that oily substance with those fingerprints and things that the Shout Factory discs come with, it will cause it to skip and things like that, which I've explained dozens of times over the years. That's why cleaning it is very important. And I'm not trying to be rude to those of you that have not watched the video, but it is one of those things, sometimes you have to be open to learning something new so you can discover a way to do something that's inexpensive without having to buy one of those machines that I referenced in that video, because those machines cost a lot of money, but they do the same thing as what I explained in that video. But what I explained doesn't cost you much of anything. You can do it all on your own, and it properly cleans these to preserve your collection to watch for many years to come. Now, if you decide you're gonna buy Wanted on 4K Ultra HD or Midnight Run, make sure to use those Amazon links I posted in the description section below. Those do help to support this YouTube channel just a tiny bit. So every time you watch one of these videos, if you decide you're gonna buy any of these releases, make sure to use those links I posted down in the description section below. That helps to support the creation of all this exclusive content. If you enjoy all the time and hard work I put into every one of these videos, make sure to join my Collectors VIP Club or give a super thanks to the super thanks button down below. As always, I'm not sponsored or paid by anybody, and the only way I can always continue to create all of this content is through you, my subscribers, and viewers' support. Without your support, none of these exclusive videos are ever possible. And I just want to say thank you to all my VIP Club members. You truly do make a world of difference in the creation of every single one of these videos. So if you haven't done so yet, make sure when you watch these videos to either join my Collectors VIP Club or give a super thanks to the super thanks button down below. As always, make sure to give this video a like and a thumbs up for me. Hit that subscribe button and the bell notification. Start the conversation in the comment section below and let me know which of these you're excited for, which of these you're gonna buy or order. Make sure to start that conversation down there below and let me know if you've seen either of these films before. I always love hearing from all of you. As always, I truly hope all of you have a blessed day, and I've always got something new, early, and exclusive coming out very soon.